So Google's new Foldable. It's a really interesting device, and when I say interesting, I mean it's kind of a contradiction. It feels like a phone that's at war with itself, right? Pulled between two totally different ideas. So today, we're going to try and unravel this puzzle at the heart of the new Pixel Fold.
And honestly, this quote from Marques Brownlee just nails it. He says he doesn't think the whole idea of a Pixel and the idea of a folding phone are really compatible. And that's what we're digging into. What happens when you smash together the smart, value-focused Pixel world with the super expensive, hardware-driven world of foldables? Let's find out.
Okay, so let's break this down. On one hand, you've got the whole Pixel philosophy, right? It's all about smart, clever software, hardware that's good enough to get the job done, and really just great value. But then, on the other hand, you've got the foldable philosophy, and that's all about bleeding-edge hardware, the absolute best specs you can cram in, and a price tag to match. You can already see how these two things just don't really mix.
So the big question is, how did Google even try to make this work? Let's start with the positives. Let's look at what makes this phone a really, really good Pixel.
Honestly, the single biggest deal this year is the hinge. I mean, they completely re-engineered it. It's smaller, it's smoother, it's gearless, it's just better. And the crazy part is how this one change, just the hinge, unlocks pretty much every other big improvement in the whole phone. It's kind of wild.
So yeah, you got to give a huge shout out to the Hingineers over at Google. Seriously, by shrinking that hinge, they solved a whole bunch of old problems and, more importantly, created all this new space inside the phone to play with.
And what did they do with all that new space? Well, this might be the most surprising thing about the phone, the battery life. We're talking a massive 5,015 milliamp hour battery here. That is huge for a foldable. And yeah, it's all possible because of that new, smaller hinge.
It's pretty simple, really. The extra space they got from shrinking the hinge, they just filled it with more battery. It's a fantastic example of how one smart engineering decision can totally transform how you use the phone. All of a sudden, battery life is a genuine strength.
And the Pixel wins don't stop there. The displays? Way brighter, which is great when you're outside. It finally has Pixel Snap, so you get full MagSafe compatibility and this huge world of accessories opens up. And get this, thanks again to that awesome new hinge, it's the first foldable with a proper IP68 water and dust resistance rating. And of course, it's a Pixel, so you get all that classic smart software stuff like call screening. It's just a really, really smart phone.
Okay, but that's only half the story, right? For all the things that make it a great Pixel, where does it stumble as a premium foldable?
And we have to talk about the price. We're talking nearly $2,000. That puts you in the absolute top tier of the smartphone world. And when you're paying that much money, your expectations for the hardware, they are and should be through the roof.
And this is exactly where that good enough Pixel philosophy really starts to feel, well, not good enough. I mean, let's be real. Compared to the competition, it's still pretty chunky and heavy. The big inner screen has this really noticeable bezel around it. You can absolutely still see and feel the crease. Oh, and the charging is slow. For $2,000, those are some tough hardware pills to swallow.
And when you put it right next to some of the newer foldables out there, the differences are stark. The Pixel Fold feels heavy and chunky. The others are getting crazy thin and light. It can even be a little awkward to hold. And look, the performance and cameras are decent for sure, but they're just not playing in the same league as the absolute best-in-class stuff you're expecting at this price point.
And here's the kicker. Even for a Pixel, a brand that's literally built its reputation on amazing cameras, the cameras here are just almost flagship quality. They're a step down from Google's other top phones. The selfie cameras, especially, are not great at all. And for a $2,000 phone, almost just doesn't cut it.
All right, so where does that leave us? We've got a fantastic Pixel phone that is, at the same time, a pretty compromised foldable. So how do we make sense of these two warring identities?
You know, it all boils down to one simple question. Who is this phone even for? Like, who is the perfect person for this very specific mix of pros and cons?
And that's the real problem, isn't it? The Pixel Fold is an amazing, good enough phone. But it's trying to sell itself in a $2,000 market where good enough is a non-starter. People spending that kind of cash rightfully expect the absolute best hardware, period. And all the clever software in the world can't completely erase that feeling that you're making a compromise on the actual thing you're holding.
And that brings us to the perfect summary. In a vacuum, with no competition, the Pixel Fold is a really, really good phone. But of course, we're not in a vacuum.
It lives in a world full of competitors that are getting impossibly thin and ridiculously powerful. They're pushing the hardware to the absolute limit. And in that world, this weird mix of smarts and good enough hardware is just a really tough sell. It's an amazing Pixel, for sure, but is it an amazing foldable? And that's the question you have to ask yourself.